All right, I want to say good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are and when you may be viewing this live video. I'm Dr. Valerie Simpson, and I'm a chaplain with Guardian Angel Hospice. I am a part of the PsychSoc team, and in these clips, I'm just wanting to inform you of some of the things to expect in times of grief, bereavement, struggles with health, or even financial struggles to help you understand some of the things that you go through, that you could possibly be going through, or someone that you care about or know, and also to give you coping skills on how to manage it. Now, today, I am going to just come to you not too lengthy at all. I'm just going to talk to you today about a very well known phenomenon, which is trauma. I want to talk to you about identifying as well as experiencing trauma and also how to manage trauma and anxiety. This may be life saving for someone. So let's just go right into this session, this quick session. We're going to talk about trauma. So, the first thing I want to put forward is what trauma is. And please pass this on to someone, put it on your social media page, and then also tag someone so that they can understand that there are tools available. Everything that I talked to you about and all the coping mechanisms and strategies I'll be using will all be non-pharmacological. So you'll continue to use whatever your doctor or your therapist is suggesting or providing for you. But in addition, these are some tools that will help you. First of all, trauma is like an alarm that goes off inside of your head, or an alarm in your emotions, or you feel a sense of being unsafe. It also will result in various physical activities or changes that you may go through, but I'll talk about that in just a second. The trauma could have been initiated by abuse or by an assault or just some type of personal attack or challenge or a sense of being in battle that you have experienced. It was very difficult, and it comes back to make you feel that you need to protect yourself from it. It's a trauma because it lasts as opposed to going away when the trouble goes away. So it's not like turning off a light switch, or as soon as the trouble or the trauma or the situation is over, that this goes away. This is a problem that tells you in your mind that you're always in danger. So trauma is very real, and I want to go through some of the symptoms of it with you. Trauma is something that you will probably all experience on some level. The way it works, so that you can understand that part of it, and everything is going to be brought to you, or pretty much presented to you in simple terms. All right, so the amygdala gland, that gland is found in the brain, and it is a brain that sends signals to the body that you're under attack and you need to take action. Obviously, I did type this pretty quickly. I won't correct it, but that you're under attack and that you need to take action in order to be safe. There are three ways that that particular emotion will begin to manifest. All right, we're going to go to those ways that it manifests. And it's called fight or flight. It sends off a signal in the nervous system, and it talks about for your defense, and I'll go over that just a second. It is either fight or you'll take flight. Now, you've probably heard of that before: fight or flight or hypervigilance. Hyper meaning excessive. So the body will get these signals that there is danger present, whether it's true or not, there is danger present, and that you need to either fight, meaning you'll need to stand and you'll need to confront this or protect yourself, or you need to remove yourself from the sense or the place of danger. That is called flight or freeze. Freeze is when you just become immobile. And give me a second and I'll tell you about that. The hypervigilance means that it's excessive. It's more than normal, even more than natural. It's because the brain is telling you that you need to do something immediately. All right, so then there's the mode. I want to talk about fight means that, again, you're in defense mode. I have to defend, I have to protect myself. This is when there is aggression. There is a sense of a person not having control of their actions because they're in defense mode. And remember, it's hypervigilant. So it's above and beyond the normal. It just may be trauma. It may be something that can be managed. And some things will need to be managed over time and also with therapy and with the doctor's care. But for those that are with you or for the person that may be recognizing these symptoms, these are to be considered as potentially a time of trauma, which can be managed additionally with non pharmacological tools and strategies. Again, flight is to remove yourself or to find a safe place. So a person may protect themselves in that flight mode by avoiding things, by simply just completely deliberately going around situations, people, having conversations. Sometimes the depth of it can be you can't even have the conversation to the point where you can't even mention the words or names or even share with anyone what you've been through because the trauma is so real that you feel that if you do not protect yourself by holding this information or avoiding this information that you're going to experience it again. And because it was so painful, you feel a need, or the person may feel a need to, by all means, even if they have to remove themselves from people, they will if it is that bad in order to protect themselves. Additionally, it is to become immobile. So it was fight, flight, or freeze. And freeze means you're immobile. I can't do anything. I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. I am at the end. I have no ideas. I don't know how I'm going to survive this. I don't know how long it's going to last. Sometimes even that freeze and immobile or immobilization stage could come with avoiding people, not answering the door, not answering the phone. I've even known of hiding under the covers because the thought of reality was so painful that they needed to shield themselves. And so that removing yourself from society, some people can't go outside because of this trauma that they've had. They just need to be in a safe place. And that actually is one of the coping mechanisms. But remember, the trauma that we're talking about is hypervigilance. So beyond normal. Of course, you feel a sense of safety at home, but when you feel unsafe, just walking outside of your front door, then you're in hypervigilant mode, beyond normal, beyond rational, beyond natural. This is a part of trauma. And the person is genuinely struggling with the effects or the after effects of trauma. All right, let's go to the next level of this discussion. So we want to talk about trauma versus an experience. All right, so trauma is is an event, something that happened or something that you witnessed happening. And because you witnessed it, it stays in your mind. That it can be tormenting. It can replay over and over in your mind until almost you're obsessed with the thoughts and the events that have occurred in this trauma. And you can't seem, you're almost stuck. And some therapists will even tell you you can get stuck in a mode of being in that replay and over that redundant reminder of the threat or the event, to the sense where the person may feel that they are not safe. This world is too unsafe. And it can be hypervigilant like that and so extreme until they've lost control. So this level of trauma and anxiety are very, very threatening to the person's well-being, both mentally and physically. It's more than an experience, because an experience will occur, and then when it's over, you'll assess the damage that has been done. You probably take whatever measures need to be taken to correct the damage, and even regain a sense of everything is either okay or it's going to be okay. But when it comes to trauma, again, it's not just an experience. It is the mind playing it over and over again and reminding you of the excessive nature of the event that traumatized you so much. Now, it does things to the brain. Trauma can do things to the brain. It can tell the brain, in the case of fight, flight, or immobilization, mostly in flight or fight, it will immediately start to send more blood to the bigger muscles, so that if you need to fight, or if you need to defend yourself, or if you need to get out of harm's way, if there is a loud noise and you feel you need to take cover, or if there is some sense of threat around you, you use that extra energy that is given to you through these hormones that are released in your body. So that is one thing. It gives you the energy. It will also cause the heart to start racing. And when the heart starts racing, you will also, more likely, begin to experience rapid breathing or quick, short breaths. These are the physical effects that trauma can take on an individual. Now, there are also things that happen in the brain when a person is traumatized. There is a part of the brain called the hippocampus where your higher thinking occurs and takes place at. Well, because the trauma is somewhat of an injury to the brain, it will cause some of the cells in the hippocampus to dry or to die. And when they die, there's a portion of shrinkage, or there is a level of shrinkage that occurs, so that the higher level of thought and rationality that you'll need for that moment may be impaired. It may be permanently, it may be temporarily. It is good to know that when those neurotransmitters, which are the signals and messengers that go from the gland in the brain to the body to tell the body's heart to immediately begin to pump faster to get that blood to those muscles so that this individual can fight and or run or protect themselves. In addition to those types of effects that it will have on the body, it will also cause the body's heart rate to speed up, blood pressure to go up. It will also release other hormones in the brain, such as cortisol. Now, cortisol is for protection. So in the moment of stress, it is a hormone for stress, so that in the moment of stress, you'll get these particular reactions. More blood to the big muscles so that you can protect yourself or so that you can remove yourself from the danger. The heart rate speeds up. But cortisol is only meant to last in the body for so long to get you through the trauma. And it is approximately 20 minutes for this cortisol, for the event to pass over. There is a loop though, so that when the event threat remains, the body continually being released into the body. It keeps the heart rate up, it keeps the breathing as it is, and until the point where the body's immune system is suppressed and not functioning as it could be or should be. So now, if the immune system is suppressed, then the body's immune system is not fighting off things like uh, even a common cold, pathogens or bacteria or other things that the body normally fights off, even free radicals that are in the body. The immune system fights them off every day, all day. The immune system is working to get rid of these things. But when you're in trauma, or when you're in a state where the emotions are high like that and cortisol is constantly flooding the bloodstream, then an individual can become sick, and they actually can come down with some very, very serious diseases, autoimmune diseases, high inflammation, which is of a lot of the autoimmune diseases like lupus, arthritis, even cortisol being in the body can prevent the body from fighting off very serious illnesses such as cancer. So, as you see, stress is very damaging, and trauma is not something that a person has willfully or voluntarily put themselves into. Life brings stress and life brings trauma. And so, what you want to do and what you want to know is how to manage it when you recognize it. So, this is why we're coming to you today to tell you about some of these traumatizing, some of these symptoms of trauma. And then I want to give you some information on how you might be able to manage the symptoms that we just spoke of. All right. So, one thing in managing the symptoms, it is something that you're on a long-term basis. You'll be able to do it on a regular basis, meaning as frequently as throughout the day. You may need to use some of these things that I'm about to tell you about to prevent yourself from being a victim of trauma in its most severe stages. And these are the non-pharmacological or the non to use in addition to whatever you is or whatever your doctor may give you. So let's talk about some of these ways of managing it. And you can help others as well, because trauma will destroy the body's ability to survive. Let's talk about these mechanisms. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to managing anxiety or trauma, because trauma results in anxiety, is mindfulness. Mindfulness is exactly what it sounds like. Pay attention. Pay attention. Pay attention to what you're feeling. You can easily be in a tense state, in a state of perpetual anxiety and not realize it. You can get used to feeling these signs and symptoms and living with them and feeling like it's a part of life that just aren't going to go away unless the situation goes away. And it may not happen as quickly as we expect it to or even would like for it to. So when I say mindfulness, let me start with those more frequent activities that you'll want to do. One is to very frequently, again, pay attention. You're being mindful and you're being proactive, and begin to consider: am I anxious, or am I feeling normal? Do I feel tense? Am I feeling frightened? Do I have a sense of being unsafe, kind of in the back of my mind, just perpetually there? And you do that by stopping and taking time to stop what you're doing for a few minutes and just think about it. How am I feeling right now? I feel a little bit anxiety, feel a little bit concerned, feel like I'm not as safe as I could be. And then, after you've done that, just begin to think over where you are, why you have felt this way, or what reasons you may have for feeling unsafe or threatened on any level. And then consider: am I really safe right now? At least for the moment, am I really safe? Is everything really okay? Or is there an immediate threat that I'm ignoring? Now, again, this is something that you'll probably have to do a number of times a day, because you're going to need to develop a habit of bringing these thoughts into under control or under subjection, to your ability to rationalize everything is okay. And if it's not, what do I need to do to be okay? The main thing is that you're not struggling with a battle that is already over. If the event is over, remind yourself that that is now in the past and right now I'm safe. So mindfulness can be also controlled with journaling. Now, this is something you'll do even possibly on a daily basis, but not as frequently as the activity of stopping to check and pay attention to yourself. And that can be done several times throughout the day. Maybe you would even take time out every hour. Maybe you would do it every 30 minutes, or just as often as maybe even set some type of an alarm, like people do when they want to make sure they're taking in enough water. They have a little alarm that will help them to remember, drink some water. You may want to set an alarm for every so often throughout the day to check that. After that, additionally, journaling. And that may be something you want to do every day. It may be something that you want to do at the beginning of your day, at the end of your day, or at periods of time throughout the day as you feel a need to review information. The reason journaling is so effective when it comes to managing anxiety is because by writing it down, you are reviewing the situation. And in reviewing the situation, you are separating actual threats from things that are just still troubling you. So it's very powerful for you to write things down. And then also, as you're writing them down, to reassure yourself that either you are safe or you've taken the necessary actions to be safe. Writing it down separates um, the threat from reality, and it also brings clarity. It kind of drives out that fog of despair and heaviness. It drives it away, because as you're writing it out, you get more clarity, especially if you write it in detail. So journaling is very powerful. The next thing is going to be breathing exercises, right? There are certain things that you can do as far as breathing that will slow down that rapid heart rate and that um, short, rapid breathing uh, moment that you're having. You can regulate it again. bring that under control. And while you're bringing it under control, especially if you're outside, if you can get outside and get that fresh O2, that oxygen, then that's even better. But when you take in the oxygen and you do these breathing exercises, you are managing the heart rate to a level, and you are also managing that breathing. And while you're taking in these deep breaths, it calms the body, it sends a signal to the body to relax. Even more important than telling the body to relax, it's also going to take oxygen, more oxygen to the brain, which literally clears out brain fog. So there are some things that I've known people to increase in their diet, like iron and other things, because it carries more oxygen to the brain and to the muscles. I can tell you that fresh oxygen is even better. As I was doing some writing, and I really got cloudy with some of the thoughts because there was trauma in what I was writing about. It began to affect me, and I decided to go outside and to just enjoy some fresh air, give my mind a break. When I got outside and began to just take in some fresh oxygen, relax from the tension of all the thinking, those intense thoughts and those intense experiences. It was almost like reliving it. I was able to gain the ability to think clearer, and then the writing became much easier because of the oxygen that I was taking in. So that's a very powerful thing that you may want to do. Give yourself a break, take in some oxygen. I would say even to rest. Now that can go two ways. You can take some time to just actually give your mind a relief for about 20 to 30 minutes from all responsibility, and just decide that whatever doesn't get done in this 20 to 30-minute break just won't get done because I need this for my own personal mental health. And in that time, it has been determined by social scientists in a study at the University of Chicago. It had been determined and it had been presented that even so much as 20 minutes of just downtime, no responsibility, no anxiety, I don't have to do anything. Whatever doesn't get done in the next 20 minutes is not going to change the world. And that after that 20 minutes, the individual was able to go back and to think deeply and intensely for another 2.5 to 3 hours. So that 20 minutes bought them good time. Now, we talk about the neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are the messengers that go from the mind or from the brain and signals to the body. It's just the way that we're wired for the protection and preservation of our lives. And when there's an injury to the head, if you bump your head, even if it's just standing up and you bump it on a cabinet or something, some of those neurotransmitters they die, but they are replaced. Those cells are replaced. So when you are resting, when you spend time resting, and when you give your body just some time to re-energize, even those neurotransmitters are replaced. Now, remember, I talked about the hippocampus and how the hippocampus, because some of those neurotransmitters die, that place of higher thinking, it even shrinks a little bit. So you don't want to have this sustained state of anxiety. Again, relaxation and comfort will help you with that. Now, I want to tell you this because it's important for you to know that some people that have experienced trauma will have flashbacks, and you'll see that in some of the movies that talk about people, or even documentaries that talk about people that were at war because they were in sudden danger and there was nothing they could do about it. And so they have flashbacks. Now, a flashback is not just a memory. A memory is okay because we don't want to get, just have amnesia, but the the flashback is different because the flashback tells the brain not only have you had this experience, but you're in that very experience right now. So the brain is very powerful, but the ability to manage these things is very important so that you don't go into fight or flight or immobilization without knowing that this is what's going on and how you can work on it. Remember that flash exercises and remember the mindfulness. And then one more strategy that I want to give you, and it is called confrontation. Confrontation. Confrontation, and I write about this in my book, and I will put that up on the screen for you. These stages of being embattled are uh, because the mind is very powerful. But confrontation, second, confrontation is when you do the opposite of what most people say that they do. They actually run from what is going on, and they say, "Well," when you ask, how do you cope with these things? Well, I try not to think about it. I ignore it. I just don't, give myself over to it because I know that it's going to overtake me. Um, that is the total opposite because you're not confronting it. Um, that strategy is probably going to sustain the it's probably going to sustain the events or the injury for even longer than you have to go through. So what you need to do is confront. Confrontation is just the time that you spend to not ignore it, but face it and talk about it, or journal about it, or think about it, and write it down and bring the clarity. This is what happened. This is the way that it happened. This is when it happened. Because not revisiting those times is not good. It will just remain there as a source of anxiety. And it may just kind of haunt you in the back of your mind. But when you confront it and you take time out to acknowledge that this thing has happened and this has occurred, and you're either in danger or you're not, or you have managed it or you're not, or you're beyond it or you're not. So these things can stay in the mind for years and even decades. And so as I was writing, and I'm going to close in just a second, as I was writing my book, I actually relived something that had happened 40 years ago. I had no idea I was going to relive it. And I knew I wasn't in the situation anymore, but the outcome was still there. So because the outcome was still there, all the emotions and all the pain came back. And so I had to learn how to confront it, write about it. When I began to write about it, the tears, the pain, the sorrow, the heaviness, the heavy breathing, the uncontrollable grief, it all came flooding back in to the point where I had to shut everything down and go and lay down and get a grasp on where I really was with this. I had not resolved it. So confrontation will help you to do that. So with that, I am going to say, I hope that you can review this, and I hope that you can learn how to use some of these strategies or help someone else, or help to just be stronger. You may not be traumatized, but you may be in a level of frustration for a period of time because of something that happens. Use these strategies to manage anxiety, depression, and grief. Okay? And with that, I want to say thank you for joining us. Again, I'm Dr. Valerie Simpson. I am a chaplain with Guardian Angel Hospice, 30 years in the business. And we are around the country. So call that number 888 RN Angel. And again, I'm a part of the Psych Search team, but you just want to see some of these videos, just continue to go to our website, which is guardianangel.net. All right, and with that, I want to thank you again for joining us on this live stream. And I hope that this has been of benefit to you. All right, and thank you so much for joining, and hopefully